Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so you friends see it. Thank you.
MSNBC guest accuses Trump of rising every morning to excrete the feces in insane rant. MSNBC is known for being over the top about President Trump, but even they should feel embarrassed about letting this man spout off on national television. Georgetown professor Michael Eric Dyson went on television and screamed at Trump for excreting the feces of his moral depravity. It started with a conservation on a tweet President Trump made a month ago about Ed Gillespie. Ed Gillespie will turn the really bad Virginia economy around, and fast. Strong on crime, he might even save our great statues, heritage. Tweeted President Trump. The reality is that it's a pretext and a context for bigotry here. This is a president who rises every morning to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation that he's turned into his psychic commode, said Dyson on national television. Here's a guy who doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong fundamentally, and who doesn't care. So for him, race trumps everything. And in this case, sending these dog whistles out there, suggesting that the statues are part of our heritage, between how
and
Elizabeth Warren talks about Al Franken and Roy Moore.
When people say
Democrats like to pretend that
these
sexual
statues
assault
are part of our
accusations are
heritage.
not a partisan
Yes,
issue,
but your
just
heritage is
the
bigotry.
difference in the way
Elizabeth
Warren
was not
talks
fought
about
in regard to
Democratic
race and
Senator Al
slavery.
Franken and
It was
Republican
fought for
Roy Moore.
states' rights.
Al Franken,
states' right
a
to do
comedian
what?
I've long
Own
admired and a
slaves,
politician
he said.
I've recently admired, has been caught up in two accusations, one of which he's acknowledged and apologized for. People are calling for Al Franken to step down. Do you think he should? CNN's Jim Acosta reveals which Republican he wants to be Times Person of the Year. Look, I was just enormously disappointed about Person of the Year in 2016 long before he was Senator Franken and his wife suppose the
These allegations
right
are
over Trump's
serious,
head, and women have a right to be heard and listened to on this.
In captions,
it said President
but
of the
here's where I
divided
see
states
this
of
whole
America.
thing
Going right now.
According to
We're going to
President
watch
Trump,
this play
the
out with
magazine
famous
contacted
men.
him,
It
telling
happened
him
in
he would
lots
be
of places
Person
of the Year
lots of
again
them
in
are talked about,
2017.
and this is a moment
Time
in America.
magazine called
As
to
I
say
see
that
it,
I was
and the
probably
question
going
to
to
be
whether
named
this is a
man,
moment that's a
person
big
of
flush
the
and
year,
then nothing
like
really
last year,
changes. But I would
nobody
have to
feels
agree
like
to
they
an
have to
interview
answer.
and a
Or
major
is this
photo
a
shoot
moment when there's real
I said
change?
probably is no
Said
good and
Warren.
took a pass. Then she
She
turned
turned
her
anyway.
attention to more.
Tweeted President
Quickly,
Trump.
It's a big question.
Time magazine
If
denied
Moore
President
wins,
Trump's
should the
claim.
Senate
The
expel him?
president is incorrect
Colbert,
about how we
we
choose
are still
Person of the Year.
pre-election.
Time
I think
does
we
not
have a
comment
really
on
good
our
candidate
choice
on the
until
Democratic
publication,
side, and the
which
people
is
of Alabama
December
need
6th.
to get
They
out there,
tweeted.
and I hope they support that CNN's Jim Democratic Acosta candidate, has his own said ideas Warren. who should be named Person of the
Maybe
Year.
this is partisan
Surprisingly,
for her
after
he
all,
chose
a Republican. Robert Mueller. Trump was Person of the Year last year, Rebecca. So isn't once enough? You know, and also, I mean, let somebody else have a chance. Maybe it's Robert Mueller's turn, potentially, said Acosta. Maybe it will be Mueller this year. I think that would get under the president's skin, even more than not being Person of the Year himself. But you're right, he has been Person of the Year. He's been featured on Person of the Year magazine editions before. So yeah, maybe somebody else's turn, responded CNN reporter Rebecca Berg. It's a shame that all CNN cares about is getting under the president's skin. MSNBC's Reid calls people who compare Al Franken to Roy Moore insane. For a long time, liberals tried to attack conservatives for being sexual predators. They attacked Fox News while ignoring their own scandals. However, they have so many sexual assault scandals that has become impossible for them. However, they have desperately clung on to that attack. The Washington Post wrote an article about why it is okay to believe Roy Moore's victims and not Bill Clinton's. They tried arguing that because Democrats are pro-women it is more forgivable when a Democrat assaults a woman. We have also seen the media try to discredit the case against Al Franken while attacking Roy Moore. Just hear what MSNBC's Reid has to say. There is absolutely no symmetry between what Al Franken, no, but Al Franken is not being accused of being a child molester, and I think that's part of the problem. I think the conflation, the whataboutism among Republicans who try to put Roy Moore and Al Franken in the same sentence is part of the reason that the Republican Party has no credibility here, said Reid. There is literally, they don't belong in the same sentence. They don't belong in the same sentence at all. They're not the same in any character, at all, said Reid. A guest pointed out that people view them as the same. Well, then people are insane, responded Reid. By the way, Al, the idea that Al Franken should be, that there is any symmetry whatsoever, these guys are going to serve with Roy Moore if he wins and say absolutely nothing and vote with him, it is absolutely absurd, not even close to being the same, she said. You don't deserve a bullet, Uma Thurman goes Kill Bill on Harvey Weinstein. While everyone else celebrated Thanksgiving with their families, Uma Thurman, star of Quentin Tarantino's classic film Kill Bill, went on an epic rant against one of Hollywood's biggest sexual predator rapists, Harvey Weinstein. I am grateful today, to be alive, for all those I love, and for all those who have the courage to stand up for others. I said I was angry recently, and I have a few reasons, #MeToo, in case you couldn't tell by the look on my face, wrote Thurman on her Instagram. I feel it's important to take your time, be fair, be exact, so. Happy Thanksgiving everyone. Except you Harvey, and all your wicked conspirators, I'm glad it's going slowly, you don't deserve a bullet, stay tuned, writes Uma Thurman. In an interview earlier this month, Thurman revealed she had a lot to say about Weinstein, but she was waiting until she could get her emotions under control. I don't have a tidy soundbite for you, because I have learned I am not a child, and I have learned that when I've spoken in anger I usually regret the way I express myself, said Thurman. So I've been waiting to feel less angry, and when I am ready, I will say what I have to say, she said. Liberal writer explains why white people make America worse than North Korea. Kate Morgan, a liberal writer and filmmaker, has almost 50,000 followers on Twitter. Despite being white herself, Morgan shared some of the most vile angry messages about white people you've ever seen. She started off a conversation with the following tweet: I hate white people. Apparently some people insulted her appearance as a result of this tweet, so she responded with again, in typical misogynist fashion, because I critique white society, you have decided to put my attractiveness into question, when quite frankly, I only ever play it up as a secondary trait because I don't want to bone racists or lunkheads, she tweeted. I hate white people, is not a critique. It is a broad sweeping incendiary statement, essentially hate speech, and ignorant in its conclusion that white culture is uniform, responded one user. Even though she used the word white several times, she wrote this tweet. I disagree. I hate white culture, and I am not a fan of people who use the label white. It's a completely fabricated racial distinction meant for segregation and discrimination in the Americas. If you use it with pride, I'm not a fan. She tweeted back. Did you not just use the term white in your initial claim to hate white people? Look. I can do this all day. Just admit you're racist and let's go back to pretending it's not North Korea racking up the most human rights violations on this earth, responded the user. North Korea is terrible, but so is the US actually. Let's not pretend we are so much better, tweeted Morgan. Hollywood stars rally against the New York Times for being too conservative after latest article. The New York Times has come under fire from President Trump and the American people for having an extreme liberal bias. However, according to some liberals in Hollywood and the media, the New York Times is too conservative. It started with an article about millennial conservative icon Ben Shapiro called Ben Shapiro, a provocative gladiator, battles to win young conservatives. Ned writes puff piece on a former Breitbart bottom feeder. Number of critics, liberals, Dems quoted in piece, 0. This is why Trump is president. Ned's decades-long obsession with churning out right-wing puff pieces is one of the great untold stories in DC media, tweeted Eric Bullard, a former staffer at Media Matters, Salon, Rolling Stone, and Billboard. Bullard seems to believe that right-wingers having any kind of voice is what caused Trump to be president. In reality, liberals trying to censor, suppress and rid the world of conservative voices is one of the things that made Donald Trump's presidency a necessity. Hollywood superstar Deborah Messing reveals that she canceled her subscription to the New York Times for running one relatively pro-conservative article in a sea of pro-liberal articles. And why I canceled my subscription to @New York Times, tweeted Deborah Messing. Mr. Shapiro, conservative thinker, entertainer, trash talker and destroyer of weak arguments, has been called the voice of the conservative millennial movement. He represents the tastes of an emerging political class. If Rush Limbaugh is someone your dad listens to on his car radio, Mr. Shapiro, 33, a graduate of Harvard Law School, is the cool kid's philosopher, dissecting arguments with a lawyer's skill and references to Aristotle, writes the New York Times.